If one thing in the world is true, then it's this. We who play FF14 love to speculate about upcoming jobs. Yoshi P's recent interview sparked a number of discussions on the subject, so I wanted to start one of my own. This is the first video in a 3-parter that will cover these jobs. This first one will be longer than the others, with a description and then covering the caster role. If you want to just skip ahead to the meat of the video, I left timelines in the description. But I encourage you to watch the entire thing, so you can understand my reasoning for all this, and I lay out some interesting data. Firstly, I will come up with jobs with roots in the Final Fantasy series that could be potential candidates for FF14. After that, we will follow the lead of the recent interview, and come up with new and unique jobs that the series has never seen before, and are unique to the current 20 jobs we have in game. My inspiration will be coming directly from the MMORPG genre. Most importantly, all these jobs will need to fit the lore and story of FF14, and not just the lore as we currently know it, but also the potential changes it will undergo when the likes of Mericidia and the new world finally become available to us. Those places Emmett Selk mentioned to us were at the forefront of my mind when it came to my job choices. Alright then, let's get the ball rolling. First off, we need to narrow down what roles the jobs will be in. On screen you can see the jobs and roles as they looked in A Realm Reborn. And this is how they look now with all the jobs added in every expansion up to this video. As the data shows, whenever they add new jobs to the game, they seem to keep a balance between the roles with each addition. If you factor in the job growth since A Realm Reborn to now, the first job to be added is a magical DPS. They have kept to a model of adding 2 new jobs with the last 3 expansions. This likely means we'll get another job alongside caster, but it's not set in stone. They could just as easily add a single job instead, but all of that will be covered in the second and third videos. Not counting limited jobs, there are 3 jobs in the magical DPS role: Summoner, Black Mage, and Red Mage. The first 2 were added in A Realm Reborn, and Red Mage was added in Stormblood. A new caster would need to be unique enough that it stands apart from the other 3, yet would be in balance with them in terms of output and playstyle, thus fitting into the role of magical DPS. Though limited, my choices need to factor in Blue Mage, since it's still a job in the game, and that goes for its choice of weapon as well. Let's theorycraft a new caster role using the Final Fantasy universe for inspiration. The current casters in game wield a staff, a grimoire, a rapier, and the blue wields a rod. The new job would need something that stands apart from them. Factoring in all this data, along with the criteria it needs to meet, I came up with one job. And that job is the Time Mage. Time Mage is a caster job of the series that focused on the use of time-related magic spells, such as slow, stop, haste, and so on. When I last did a job video before Endwalker, I mentioned Time Mage and how it wouldn't fit into the game with such a toolkit, as the ability to slow an enemy or even increase the speed of allies with haste would add too much of an unstable element to the game. Jobs in FF14 are built around rotations, and those would be destroyed if your speed increased or your cooldowns would shorten randomly during combat. Instead, I see the Time Mage as a caster that would focus on using time magic to cause harm to their enemies, similar to how a Black Mage uses elements like fire and ice. These same spells could be used to some benefit for the group, like a bubble that warps time with enemy abilities that pass through it losing energy, aka a bubble that reduces damage taken within it. The caster would need a unique playstyle, like all the others have. I picture a caster who is bound by time, having to execute its rotations based on procs that time out. Now sure, the other jobs have this as well, but for Time Mage this would be the difference between average and great damage potential, cause the procs would lose potency as the seconds tick down. It might sound like a job for advanced players, and honestly you're not wrong. It would be unlocked well into the game, but if you look at the other casters, they are easy to learn but difficult to master. The Black Mage is the shining example of this. Anybody can learn its rotation in 5 minutes, but only the best ones can keep such a rotation flowing uninterrupted while doing everything else a combat encounter would ask of them. As for its choice of weapon, I settled on the bell. Now I know the mental image you're having right now, but the bell is a recurring series weapon, and aside from the bell as we all know it, It also takes the form of the handbell. A prime example is the weapon type in Final Fantasy XI. They could use this weapon to call forth their time magic, and ringing it would execute the spell. The bell weapon in the series was mostly used by Geomancers, and while Geomancer was a contender for me, it was ultimately not the job I felt could be the next magical DPS. Alright, now for the really fun part. Using the MMORPG genre as my inspiration, I came up with one unique job and weapon that could be added to Final Fantasy XIV. My main criteria was the same as before. A job unique from the others with a standout weapon, yet something that would fit the lore of Final Fantasy XIV. The job I chose was the Necromancer. Necromancer is a staple class of the genre, appearing in many of the top ranked games past and present. In these games, the job focuses on the use of dark and evil magics, and also true to its name, is well known for its ability to call forth undead and spirit creatures. My unique spin on this job for Final Fantasy XIV has to do with the Void. The Void has always been a part of the FF14 storyline, but recently has been getting a lot more attention. It looks like it will be headed to the Void very soon, so it's likely we could pick up such an art in that domain. The job would focus on the use of Void magic to cause harm to their enemies. I know some of you are thinking Reaper right now, and I admit they use Void energy in their toolkit, but not as a caster. They would have similar lore roots, but without the Reaper's avatars, instead focusing on using the arts learned within the Void via Aether and possibly even Dynamis. This would present a unique job that wouldn't use elemental attacks or the power of primals like the current magical DPS do, and like the Time Mage I mentioned earlier, would be a great candidate for the next caster. As for its playstyle, I seen it being a caster with an emphasis on damage over time, also known in FF14 as dots. We never really got a solid answer as to why they removed dots from Summoner, but they've wanted to rework the job for years cause it's too closely tied to the Arcanist. I see the Necromancer being the new dot wielding caster that would embody much of what the Summoner used to be, with new mechanics based off the Necromancer and its links to the Void. As for its choice of weapon, this was by far the trickiest part, as it needs to stand apart from the rest of the jobs, and in that regard most of the bases are already covered. Ultimately inspired by other games and some of the older artwork of FF14, I settled on the Spellblade. A Spellblade is similar to a one-handed sword that a paladin would wield, but more slender, designed for casts and curses rather than hand-to-hand clashes. As such, these blades tend to be made of different materials, such as bone, gems, or even glass. The Necromancer job would use this blade to channel and cast their spells, similar to how others use a staff. The weapon itself would have a number of effects that would resonate from it, causing it to take on a variety of spell effects such as flames or pure void magic. And those are both my candidates for the next caster in FF14. I hope you enjoyed this first video in my 3-part series. This is a subject I'm very passionate about and I can't wait to discuss it with you. I'm covering this job subject early before any hints of new jobs drop later in Endwalker. When these new jobs finally get announced, I'm looking forward to seeing how close my own guesses were. As always, leave your opinion in the comments and let's get a discussion going. Support the video by leaving a like, and do consider subscribing if you like my content, because I have a ton more of it to follow. Thanks all, and now, as always, have a good one.